There's a question that always shows up when we feel stuck. If I understand everything, why can't I take action? It sounds like a contradiction, but it's not. There's something strange that happens when you overthink. Instead of helping, too much clarity starts to paralyze. It's like the more you understand, the harder it gets to move. That's where many people get it wrong. They assume that just because they're aware of the problem, they should be ready to act. But there's a huge difference between mental clarity and emotional readiness. You might understand everything rationally and still not feel safe enough to move forward. And when that happens, thinking turns into a numbing agent. You plan, you predict, you simulate every possible outcome, but you don't move. The mind slips into simulation mode, while the body freezes. It's like standing at the top of a mountain with the perfect map in hand. You know exactly where to go, but the wind terrifies you, the cold of risk paralyzes you, and the intelligence that was supposed to guide you becomes the thing that blocks you, not because you're weak, but because your system doesn't feel safe enough yet to take the next step. And then comes a heavier, invisible weight. When your intelligence becomes part of your identity, failure starts to feel unacceptable. We're going to talk about that next, how being smart can actually make the fear of failing even worse. The truth is, when people see you as intelligent, that image comes with a weight no one really teaches you how to carry. You're expected to know, to get it right, to stand out. And so, making mistakes starts to feel unforgivable. This creates a quiet fear that often goes unnoticed. What's holding you back isn't the task itself. It's the risk of seeming not good enough, of falling short of what others, or you, expect from yourself. Canadian physician Gabor Mate, who studies the impact of trauma on behavior, says procrastination often isn't laziness. It's a subconscious attempt at self-protection. When you delay, you keep alive the idea that, I could have done it well, I just haven't yet, because doing it and failing would hurt more than not trying at all. It's like a part of you is quietly saying, it's safer not to start than to find out, I'm not as good as I thought. And that puts you in an emotional dead end. You don't act, you feel guilty, but you also don't take the risk, because failure would shake everything you believe about yourself. But here's the thing, this fear didn't just show up out of nowhere. At some point in your life, maybe back in school, maybe at home, you learned that making mistakes made you less worthy, less accepted, and that belief got imprinted. So now, every attempt feels like a threat to your identity. But real intelligence isn't about avoiding mistakes, it's about learning from them. And to do that, you first have to accept that failing doesn't make you less, it just makes you human. And if all of this wasn't already complex enough, there's a biological factor that can throw things even more off balance. Because sometimes, the issue isn't emotional, it's chemical. That's what we're diving into next, dopamine, and why you can feel completely drained before you even begin. Let's keep going. Have you ever felt that rush of motivation just from imagining everything you could do? Your mind runs wild. New projects, big changes, a better version of yourself. But then, when it's actually time to start, you're exhausted. Like all your energy disappeared before you even took the first step. There's a biological reason behind that. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman often explains how dopamine, the neurotransmitter linked to desire and motivation, spikes intensely during anticipation. Just by picturing a great outcome, your brain gives you a hit of pleasure. You feel productive, even if you haven't done a single thing. But there's a cost. When that dopamine high comes before real action, your system ends up using energy prematurely. It's like feeding off the idea without ever taking a bite of the actual meal. So when it's time to move, you're already drained. And that turns into a vicious cycle. You dream big, get excited, freeze, feel frustrated, and then repeat. And each time around, the guilt grows, as if it's a character flaw, but it's not. It's a system trained to chase fast dopamine and avoid sustained effort, especially in a world built around instant gratification. Feeds, notifications, short videos. Your brain gets used to wanting, but not to holding on to that want long enough to follow through. It's like spending hours browsing a menu, getting excited about every dish, but never ordering anything, just imagining and leaving the table still hungry. And sometimes, even when you understand all of this, you still can't break the pattern because the block isn't just in your mind, it's in your body. And that's what we're going to explore next, when even the clearest logic in the world isn't enough to get you moving. Maybe the most frustrating part of all this is realizing that rationally, you've already figured it out. You know what's blocking you. You know why you feel this way. But still, nothing changes. And then comes that bitter question. If I understand it, why am I still stuck? Because not everything can be solved in your head. Psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk, author of The Body Keeps the Score, shows how trauma and unprocessed emotions don't just vanish because you understand them. They get stored in the body as tension, avoidance, freeze responses. Sometimes it's not your thoughts that are stuck, it's your body. And this is a blind spot for a lot of smart people, believing that if you think clearly, you should feel fine. But real presence isn't a concept, it's a felt experience. And if your body still reacts like it's in danger, you're going to freeze, no matter how clearly you understand what needs to be done. It's like trying to run with your feet tied together. You know the way, but you physically can't move because there are emotional memories you've never fully felt, stories that got cut off halfway, sensations you've trained yourself to ignore. And when the body doesn't feel safe, it shuts down any attempt to move forward. Not out of sabotage, but out of protection. The problem is, too much protection ends up suffocating you. That's why understanding alone isn't enough. You have to listen to the body, return to it, feel the present moment without trying to fix it all in your head. And maybe, deep down, what's keeping you stuck isn't a lack of clarity, but a level of pressure that no version of you could ever live up to. That's what we're going to close this video with. Let's go. At this point, you might be asking yourself, then what's wrong with me? And the answer might be simpler and harder than it seems. Maybe you're not stuck because you don't understand. Maybe it's because you're so hard on yourself that any step forward feels like it'll never be enough. Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of a Nazi concentration camp, once said, "When life loses its meaning, it turns into pure effort, and forced effort is what wears you down, what drains your spirit, because there's no rest when you feel like you have to prove yourself all the time. You use your intelligence to predict everything, calculate every risk, try to get it all right on the first try, but that's not clarity, that's overpressure. And in the end, you find yourself exhausted before anything even begins. Maybe what you need right now isn't motivation or better ideas. Maybe what you really need is permission. Permission to fail, to not be amazing all the time, to start without having it all figured out, to exist as you are, not as who others expect you to be. Because the key isn't to think better, it's to come back to the present, to your body, to the small step you can take today. Your intelligence isn't the problem, but it needs to stop being the prison and start being the bridge. If this video gave you clarity, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps keep this space alive, so we can keep having conversations that help us breathe in a world that's constantly asking too much. See you next time.